Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Magicians Without Borders Conversations. This is episode number 52. This marks, a milestone. We've been doing this, these conversations for a year. Today marks our 1 year doing this conversations, and we're going to precisely look back on what this year has meant for us and what we have in store for the future. But before we dive into that, I'm talking about stores. I want to remind everybody that we do have a store that's called the store.magicianswithoutborders.com magic store. The idea of that store is that you can get magic from us delivered to your house virtually. So we can provide a magic show for you or workshops live online. We can do that. And in those, our students from the slums of big cities, especially in Latin America, are going to be present. So they're the ones that are going to be here there with you, teaching you magic or showing you and performing magic for you. We've done this for different kinds of celebration like birthdays, and it's very, very cool gift to give as well. And also, if you want to learn magic, there you can purchase our magic course called Become a Magician. This is a self-paced video magic course created by our founders, Tom and Janet. And it's a great way to learn magic with everyday objects. So you can, create your own magic show that way. And having said that, this is the perfect leeway to tell you what we've been doing in Latin America. We created, or better, the kids from the slums of Colombia have created their own magic course. So this is for the people that speak Spanish. So, si tú hablas español, esto es para ti, esto es una forma de aprender magia en casa. La idea de magia en casa es que es un curso que tú puedes aprender a hacer magia desde la comunidad de tu casa con elementos cotidianos que puedes encontrar en cualquier lugar de tu casa, o lo puedes comprar en una droguería, una farmacia por muy poco dinero. So this is the video promo for Magic at Home, the video magic course that the kids from the slums of Colombia made. It's a great video magic course. Es un curso muy chévere, muy muy básico, pero con magia muy, muy interesante que puedes aprender y que puedes hacer con elementos que estén cerca de ti. No tienes que invertir mucho en elementos. So that's what we've been doing in the Project of Colombia. And today, well, we're going to wrap up a year of Magicians Without Borders conversations. And I have to do this with Tom. How are you?
I'm very happy to be here with you, Carlos. I just got back from doing a show last night that I do every Tuesday night, and it was the last show of the summer season. It's at a resort in the Adirondack Mountains of New York, and it was a good show. So I felt very, very good. But we're in the middle. They especially are in the middle of a big rainstorm from the hurricanes that have hit the east coast of the United States. But I'm back safe and sound and happy to be here with you on our 52nd episode of Conversations. Fantastic.
It's been a lot, huh, Tom?
Oh my goodness. I'm looking forward to reviewing and remembering and connecting with all of the amazing people that mainly you contacted around the world who are doing social magic and social clowning and all kinds of wonderful things. So I'm happy, happy, happy to be here.
Yes, I think what I want to do is try and take us back, a year, and asking you, Tom, like what were your expectations a year ago? Like what do you think was going to happen, or like not looking back, but like in a year ago, what were you expecting from this crazy adventure of, hey, let's meet every Wednesday and talk online on the computer?
Well, it's been as we all know, just a very, very strange and challenging year to begin with, with this COVID pandemic. But I think some of the best things in my life have been when I met regularly. I had a good friend who was also a psychologist, and we met every Wednesday morning for 2 hours in the same restaurant, same table, same waitress for 8 years. And we talked about our work, our life, whatever. And it's wonderful to have to show up like this happens to be Wednesday also. But I used to have to, meet him, and we probably missed maybe out of 52 weeks of those 8 years, we probably met 45 weeks out of the year, and this has been one of the memorable kind of regular meetings because we got to talk about something that's obviously very dear to our hearts, yours and mine, Magicians Without Borders, and also people around the world who are doing similar kinds of what we've come to call social magic, So
Yeah, I agree. I think that regularity brings, expectation. It also it's kind of a deadline that you need to hit, and you need to work towards, and you need to prepare, and all of that. It makes it happen. It's a reminder that, hey, you need to do this, right?
Oh my goodness, yeah.
That's good because it allowed me to meet, as you said, people from around the world who do social magic that we've never heard from before, or that we discovered along the way.
Yeah.
Something new from before we started this but some others we met. And I think that that's something that surprised me when we started. Like my expectation was like, okay, we'll talk with Tom, right, about different subjects. We'll talk with our head local magicians from the education chapters around the world, and that's about it, right? We'll bring on one of our kids every once in a while, and that was
exactly. Yeah, that's right.
And I said, "Oh, that's gonna be tough to feel a year worth of content with that." And then we started researching, but also people started contacting us, and that was wonderful. Like, hey, look, I do something similar. Can I talk to you guys? Or and we got some messages either through Facebook or Instagram that were about wanting to connect because we had something important in something similar, and our purpose was very, very similar as well. And I think that was my biggest surprise, and my biggest yeah, I don't know how to say it. Yeah, my biggest aha moment is like, hey, we're not alone in this.
Right.
There are more people that do this than I thought that I knew, and I thought I knew them all.
Yeah.
Because we've been in this for a while now, and I had done some research about this. But there's a lot of people who do it in a smaller scale, but there's also different organizations that do it in a bigger scale, like us, but with a different focus, but with a similar purpose. And
Yeah.
I don't know, it's been wonderful to discover that.
Yeah. I think that's been a big realization and a kind of a sense, whether we're physically or virtually or social media in contact with each other. I think there's some kind of connection between all of these wonderful organizations and individuals, whether it's the jungle doctor or the humanitarian clown in Australia, or Magic Aid who works with doctors, or so many people are using this incredible gift of magic to make the world a better place, and it's wonderful that you reached out to them, that they reached out to you as the coordinator of this weekly podcast broadcast. It's been wonderful. Yeah. And I look forward to reviewing and remembering some of those.
Yeah, we sure will. So, in order to do that, I wanted to play one little clip of our first ever episode.
Okay.
And it's something that's very cool because it's what you expected when you started Magicians Without Borders. So here it is.
Okay.
Would you ever have thought that Magicians Without Borders would be where it's at right now, meaning like the reach that it has had?
No, well, after I came back from that meeting that I was going to in Poland, I went back to the university where I was teaching psychology, and I couldn't get the experiences that I had doing those 15 shows and all the amazing things that happened in those refugee camps, like the two things I just told you about Fatima and those Roma men. I just kept thinking and thinking and thinking about what had happened to me. So about 3 months went by, and I went to the head of the psychology department, and I asked him, I said, I'd like to take 1 year of absence from my job, from teaching, and start this organization. I'm thinking of calling it Magicians Without Borders, after, of course, the great Nobel Prize winning organization, Doctors Without Borders. So I was planning on doing this for 1 year. And it's gone on now for almost 20 years. So it doesn't look like it's ever going to stop. So no, I never imagined it was going to grow and go the way it has. And I'm so happy it has.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing to think about it that way, right? Like,
Yeah.
When we started this, I mean, I can do the relation with this podcast. Like, we didn't know it was going to survive a year, and now we're here.
Right.
Here.
But I'm really I don't know quite what to say. What just popped into my mind is in a week or so, we're going to be with a group of people at Goldsmith University in London. And this psychology department at Goldsmith is interested in well-being that comes from what I like to say, learning, practicing, and performing magic. And they contacted us. I'm still amazed that Magicians Without Borders is going to participate in some seminar, workshop in London, But the work we've done this for 20 years and we know some things, but it seems like it's gone by so quickly. And I'm really thrilled. And you're doing so much of the work these days, especially in our Latin American programs. But I never imagined it was going to grow into this organization that and it feels like it really grew. I didn't think I want to do this. It just kept growing and growing and growing. And Ryan came to Colombia and started a program there and met you. And that was this great burst. I mean, you're not just one plant, you're an entire garden, a farm. And so it's growing. And can you imagine, like, this moment might be like the moment 20 years ago. What's it going to be like 20 years from now? I don't know. I hope I'm still here to see it.
Oh, me too. This is the event that Thomas was talking about. It's called Bridging the Impossible. It's an online symposium about the science of magic, well-being, and happiness. And it's going to be taking place virtually, of course. Anyone or everyone can access it. And I just put the link in the chat and in the show notes. And it's wonderful because there are going to be scientists, researchers, healthcare practitioners, magic charities and organizations. That's where we come in, other magicians. And these are their speakers. There's great people in magic like Richard Wiseman. He's a great professor of psychology and a magician. This is Harrison Prather from Magicaid. Stephen, he's the one that's putting everything together. And looking at this panel of speakers, we've spoken to a lot of them on our podcast. There's you, Tom. We talked with Jamie Belfort Paul, and we talked with Harrison. And it's going to be very cool because there's going to be panels, there's going to be discussions, but there's also going to be a magic show. There's also going to be magic activities done by this wonderful organization called Abra Academy, who's very interested in magic and the relationship with teams and how it can enhance learning. And so it's going to be it's a great symposium, and we're very glad that we're there. And well, we should be there. So I'm very glad that's happening, and you're going to be there, sharing stuff with the people there about your work that you've started, and that some stories. And I wanted to recall a story from from the second episode that we did live, and it's the story about how you can, magic can be a unifier. Okay, so here's that story from our second episode.
So, and that night, and it was really a good show. It went really well. And so we're sitting in the UN compound inside the refugee camp, and we're eating. And I'm there with one of the elders from the refugee population who was sort of working for the United Nations. And he was at that show.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, it was amazing, that show. And I thought he was referring to the magic, like, whoa, great magic.
Mm-hmm.
He said, we laugh together in our tukels, in our huts. They're called tukels. He said, we laugh with our family and friends in small groups. He said, but I've been in this camp now for 20 years. He said, for 20 years. And he said, today was the first time we laughed together as a community. He said there were a couple thousand people and from different tribes, different parts of Sudan. They were all different, but they were all laughing together.
Wow. Pretty interesting. How they're all laughing together.
Yeah, that it seems so simple, so what's the big deal? They're all laughing together, but it was a big deal. I mean, these tribes, and what's difficult sometimes about refugee camps is people from different tribes. Some are farmers and some are pastoralists. It's just like the West in the United States between the farmers and the sheep keeper and the cattle people. There was this incredible conflict and tension between them. They're all in the same refugee camp now.
Yeah.
And there they were, all at one magic show, maybe 1,500, 2,000 people, and they're all laughing together. Dinka, Nuers, all kinds of tribes of people who back in Sudan were enemies, but magic, they all laugh. It really, really amazed me because I didn't know what was happening. I was just doing my magic. There was the audience, but I didn't realize this was an amazing thing.
Yeah, it's so, it's so amazing how something mundane for us that we do it regularly can have, a great impact. That's unrelated to what we wanted to do, but then we find the power in it. I think that's something that's always, it's a continuous amazement for me, being in this line of work, and I want to tie that with a little clip from our 13th episode that we did, that was called "The Pillars on Which Magicians Without Borders Stands," and then that you did with Janet, your wife and co-founder of Magicians Without Borders. And that's something that I learned, or that I not learned, that I knew maybe the impact or I imagine how it could be performing with your wife doing this kind of work, but it's very different from seeing you guys doing it and doing the work with you, but also hearing you talk about that. I think that's something that I learned it was pretty beautiful, because you did 2 episodes on that, this one that we're going to show and then another one. But it's very cool to hear you guys talk about the work that you do together. So this is a little short clip of you both talking about, exactly that.
Yeah.
So here it is.
So I just wanted to ask you, what does it mean to both of you to be able to share this work that you do, not just the traveling with, but the purpose of the work that we do? So if you can answer first, Janet, and then Tom.
I think working together enhances what we do individually. And we're of a shared, I guess, ideology and a shared passion for doing this work, and which has only grown over the years, because we realize that even though it doesn't look like much to some people, but the silly things that we do bring a lot of laughter. So it and an enjoyment, and I don't know what else, but I suspect that maybe there's some healing and some, I don't know, what would you say, Tom, and hopefulness that comes with our little performances.
Great. I mean, it ties up perfectly with what you just said, Tom, huh? And then the story about that unifier of magic, and that we don't expect it to be more than it is.
Yeah. I love how humble Janet is in that, and talking about our little performances. And in many ways, they are. I mean, we just do what we do, and it doesn't feel
Grandiose.
That extraordinary or unique or special or whatever. But maybe it is, maybe it really is, and it's gone on now, for these 20 years, and over 1 million refugee kids have laughed and had a wonderful time with LaFleur and myself, and it's been an amazing, as the Grateful Dead say, a long, strange trip. It's been,
oh yes, it's a strange trip. And along that trip, we've met wonderful people that have worked with us, and we have had here in the show, like Felipe Costa, who we call El Pollo here, wonderful kids magicians from here from Colombia. Jack Lesueur, our local magician in South Africa, in Cape Town. Michael Six Muldoon, Devonte Rosero, Mario Sierra. We've talked to Aiden and Alex from Yale, from the Yale Magic Society. We've talked to a Las Vegas performer, Jen Kramer, who's a great advocate for our cause. We talked with Kyle and Ryan, two volunteers that through a Fulbright scholarship went to South America from the States. Kyle to Brazil, Ryan to Colombia. And we've talked with great organizations like Magic Aid, like Magic Brothers World, like Million Miles, Million Smiles. We've talked to Magic for Smiles, and it's been great hearing all that, and all of us, especially us, had to walk this uncertain road of social work, and added that pandemic, and add to that the pandemic. That much uncertainty was, very, very hard to navigate. And we had an episode about that. We had an episode about the future of uncertainty, or what's the future of uncertainty. And I want to show a clip of that episode. It's episode number 35, where you talk about uncertainty and improvisation. And I think it's a great clip. So here it is.
It just felt like a live art, an in-person art. And the part of magic, of being a magician and a performing magician, that I really love is being there with a group of people and trying to figure out who they are and how I can connect with them, and then connecting, hopefully, and playing, like your t-shirt. Improv is a lot of playful, exactly. The word improv and playful to me are very much connected. That improv, you have to play because you just don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what the other person's going to do.
And you don't know what the other person's going to do or what's going to happen in the planet. So you have to be open to being playful, like what you did yesterday, right? Can you share with us that you had to improvise, being in a hotel during a hurricane-ish?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, actually, I was thinking I'll say something about that. But this morning, every Tuesday night during the summer, I perform at this hotel. It's not really a hotel. It's a resort on a beautiful, beautiful lake in the Adirondack Mountains. And there are small cabins. There's no electricity in the cabins. And we have gotten the tail end of these hurricanes that have hit the East Coast of the United States in the last few days. And they were coming up through New York. And it rained and rained and rained and rained. And I got up early this morning, as I usually do, and I got out of my cabin and I was walking to the main lodge, probably to make the first pot of coffee. And I ran into this psychiatrist who was on the teeming down rain. He had an umbrella. I had an umbrella. And we stood there for 20 minutes talking. And he just talked about my show the night before. And he was a psychiatrist, and he was just talking about how the way we work with kids during a magic show, and they really in many ways become the show, and the magic is really the kids in many. And he was talking about that, and he was just complimenting me on how well I guess I bring out the magic in the kids, But then this morning it kept raining and raining and raining, and they didn't know what they were going to do with it. There were like 15 kids who were between the ages of 9 and 14. And these kids were, it had rained all the day before. Now it was going to rain again. So I said, let's have a magic class. And that Become a Magician magic course came in very handy. I had those tricks, and we did an hour and a half, almost 2 hour magic class with those kids this morning. And it was just improvisation. Something needed to happen. These kids were like, what are we going to do today? It's teeming down rain. It was really, really, really raining. Not just wet, but
pouring rain.
We went inside, and the people who run it, Bruce and Holly, they were really happy that we were able to improvise, and I think a lot of life is improvisation. There's a book, I think it's called Life is Plan B, like we have Plan A, that's what we're going to do, but then it starts, a hurricane comes, and you got to turn to what's Plan B going to be? Well, this morning it was a 2 hour magic class, with these kids. And I think that's just part of the spirit of Magicians Without Borders. You see a need, you try to respond to it in some magical, playful way.
Yes, and I think if you keep an open mind through life, that Plan B is going to be more more easy to navigate, than if you resist and, you know.
Yeah, you don't just say, "Oh, damn, it's raining. I hate it." You just say, "What can I do?" You know, and then you start becoming imaginative and creative and playful. It's playing, you know. It's not, "I'm going to do this. You say, "What can I do?"
More playful. Completely. I agree, Tom. And, you know, through this, continuing our, you know, summary or recapping of what we did a couple of episodes on stuff, magic that we've seen that, you know, left a mark, right? One was this wonderful short film called To Gerard, which, you know, it was wonderful. And we did a couple of episodes on it, talking about mentoring and talking about, you know, what's it like to be a mentor, what's it like to have a mentor, and that role that we play in magic, but also in Magicians Without Borders. And then we talked about Derek Del Gaudio's show, in and of itself. I think it's one of the best shows that I've seen that has magic in it. Again, I cannot call it a magic show, but I think it's a theater show that has magic in it. But I think it's the performance of it was mind blowing. It's just spectacular. I eagerly tell people to go and see it. It's live. You can see it on Hulu. And a friend of ours, actually Felipe Costa Pollo, one of the greatest magicians for kids that I know, went to see him live. So here's a little clip about Pollo talking about Derek Del Gaudio's show. Here it is.
They have been doing a lot of things together and a lot of success. And I think what he managed to do really well was also how to be honest with his magic, you know, with his magic. Like when he does the boat floating inside the bottle or disappearing the brick or all the cards, he talks about magic, you know, and this is something we're not allowed to do.
So that's pretty interesting, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, that show is just, it twists your mind about what a magic performance can be, or a performance period can be. I don't know. It is very inspiring to me as a performer.
That's such a. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Carlos. Did you want to say more?
No, that's it.
Oh. That word that Pollo used, to be honest with our magic. What does that really mean? You know, I remember someone talking about David Blaine, and that something David Blaine. They were talking how afraid of magic many magicians are. And it's interesting, and it's kind of the emotional response that people might have to magic, or that you might build in to your magic routine. David Blaine would do something, and people would have, like, they choose a card and sign it, and then they put it back in the deck, and he'd hand the deck to the person, and the person would look through and their card wasn't in there, and they would turn around, he would point, and they'd turn around, and there was the card inside the window of the store they were standing in front of. Now, he would just stand there. The people would look at it. They'd rub it. It was inside. It would have been amazing enough if it had just been on the outside of the window.
Yeah.
But it was on the inside of the window. But the amazing thing was David Blaine didn't say anything. He just stood there,
Yeah.
quiet, and let them feel the astonishment, as Paul Harris would say, or the amazement of that moment. He didn't like, boop, oh yeah, isn't that funny, whatever, and get rid of it. But so last night, there were a lot of little kids in the audience, and I was playing with them and all of that. But then there's this trick that I do that has a kind of an emotional, a strong emotional component to it in honor of the great Marie Curie. And someone picks a card. I talk about Madame Curie, and I invite a young woman up, usually 14, 15 years old. And she picks a card, and I have this little miniature x-ray machine, and I show that there's a blank piece of x-ray film in it. I put it in, I close it up, and she picks a card and puts it face down on her hand, puts her hand on top of it, and I set the x-ray machine on top of her hand, and then I expose with a light the x-ray machine, and I open the x-ray machine, I take out the piece of film, and now there's a picture of her two hands and the playing card inside, and that's a kind of a cool magic trick, and I could stop there, but I've made up these envelopes with Madame Curie's, as a young woman in her laboratory, a picture of her on these envelopes. And I take the x-ray and I put it in the envelope and I close it. And there's also a beautiful picture of Madame Curie on the envelope. And I give it to her. And I say, this is just for you to remember, not this magic show, not this magic trick. You can forget that, but never forget what a wonderful, bright, beautiful young woman you are. And your life will be an adventure, and you will do great things like Madame Curie. And I give it to her. And there is a quiet and in the audience, and a kind of, it's a little vulnerable for a magician to be that kind of emotional during a show, and I give it to her, and people, she goes off. But I think that's what we can do as magicians, and I think I learned that from people like Eugene Berger, and someone I hope we're going to have on Conversations, whatever form this is going to take over the next year. I've learned that kind of thing from Robert Neal, from Bob Neal, who I'm having lunch with next Friday. And so magic can be a very powerful thing. I'm sorry I went on so long, but
but I think it's very, very to the point. Like, magic can be a lot of things, right? Magic can be different things to different people.
Yeah. I mean, what Pollo was talking about Delgadio, that's he's very vulnerable in that show.
Completely. And you feel that honesty, as Pollo was saying, to be honest with magic. I think that's where he was going to. But, magic can be, different things. And where we teach our kids, magic over there, it has a different meaning than in the Magic Castle, for example, right?
Yeah.
When you bring magic to the slums of Colombia in particular, and you perform for kids there, and then they become the performers of magic for their community, it empowers them in a way that a magician in LA, for example, won't. It's hard for that magic to have the same effect.
Yeah.
And I think that's that's a big part of what we do, and it's how I think we chose to use magic, and I think that's a great way, and people have done this with different arts. And speaking about that, here's Tim Webster from Australia, the founder of Humanitarian Clowns, wishing us congratulations for 1 year of conversations. And Tim does that as well with clowning, right? Clowning in India with clowns from all over the world, and he brings clowning to people for whom it has a different meaning. It's maybe the only time in a week or in a month that they are, smiling, right, because of their situation. So I think magic can have, a meaning that's depending on the situation. But I'm so glad that we both, Tom, use magic in a way that generates hope, as we say.
Yeah. I think that episode with, and I'll just talk directly to you, Tim, since you're listening, was a really inspiring episode. Hearing you talk about your work in India, in Tamil Nadu, and it's just inspiring. And something I really loved, I mean, someone who inspired me in my life, and she wasn't a performer, she wasn't a clown, it was my mother, and for you to talk about your mother, and she dressed up like a fairy godmother, and I just imagined her. I didn't see any pictures of her. What a joy to be able to perform with her sometimes, and to be inspired by her. That's just such a gift in your life, and you telling us about that and about your work was a great moment in these 52 weeks. So thank you, Tim. And again, I really do hope we can get to Australia, or maybe meet up in Tamil Nadu and do magic and clowning together. So I'm so happy you're on this. I don't know what time of day it is in Australia, but whatever it is, we're thrilled that you're here. Thank you.
Definitely. And one of the latest episodes that we did, was looking towards the future. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But well, Tim's listening, and I think it's very inspiring what you do, Tim, for us, and it's a great thing that it's mutual. And I really do. I really look forward of this taking a step forward, this relationship that we've sparked because of Magicians Without Borders Conversations. This is a great thing that happened.
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks to you, Carlos. Thank you.
Very unexpected. So we were talking about the future, right? And what it holds and what we're going to do. And we just recently begun in-person classes in the slums. And I played a couple of these clips last episode, but I want to play them all now. It's 7 clips from 6 of our students and our head local magician here in Colombia, who is an alumni of our program, and what magic means to them. And I'm going to play them all because I think it's very inspiring or very comforting to see them live and not through a screen. And also show you guys the view that we have going to the slums here in Colombia. So here's the way up to the slums.
Volvimos a Paraíso al Transmicable. Como es espectacular la vista. Transmicable en Portal Tunal hasta Paraíso.
It's just a wonderful view, and you see the architecture start to change, and big buildings and then smaller buildings and then houses and then smaller houses and then brick without paint and then shackles. And it's an eye-opening ride. But then this is what I wanted to share. These are 6 of our students just saying what our classes have meant for them, and how long they've been with us and what they like about magic.
Hola, mi nombre es Jason Bergen y estoy...
Okay, that was way too short. I don't know what happened there. Let me try this one.
Mi nombre es Jonathan Rodríguez. Soy del grupo Magos Sin Fronteras Bogotá, Colombia de Paraíso. Lo que más me gusta de estar en Magos Sin Fronteras es las magias y la disciplina que se tiene en el grupo.
So that's a cool thing, He likes magic, of course. They're all very pulled in by, that curiosity of the magician of how's that done, how can I do it, the secret and all that. But he then says discipline, right? It's very unexpected, Hey,
Yeah.
like that you guys discipline me. Maybe he doesn't have anybody else that nourishes the discipline. Here's one. This is Juan Esteban.
Hola, mi nombre es Juan Esteban Miranda, soy del grupo Magos Sin Fronteras Bogotá, Colombia, del barrio Paraíso. Ya llevo 3 años en el programa. Lo que más me gusta y me encanta es que nos enseñan a ser perseverantes y a luchar por nuestros sueños.
Oh,
That's also pretty cool. It's also pretty cool. Magic is cool and everything, but hey, persevere, follow your dreams, and I know it's very hard to express how that small phrase or how important that small phrase is, because in their reality, they're not allowed to dream, to play, to experiment, to fail. And so having that space and nourishing that, I think it's very cool. And Juan Esteban, we've known him since he was a little guy. Since he was as old as Sebastian, who I'm going to show now that it's very, very a lot younger. But here's Sebastian, one of our newest students.
¿Cómo te llamas?
Me llamo Jenny Sebastián Vargas.
¿Y hace cuánto estás en Magos Sin Fronteras?
Estoy ya con este año, voy a cumplir 1 año con la profe Tamara.
Súper, ¿y en dónde estás ahorita?
Estoy en el colegio Confraternidad.
¿Y esto queda en qué ciudad?
En Paraíso.
Paraíso, en Bogotá. ¿Y qué es lo que más te gusta de Magos Sin Fronteras?
La magia, todos los trucos y que la gente se impresione.
So that's little Sebastian. He joined Magicians for Borders last year, and that's how old Juan Esteban was when we met her. And this Sebastian talks about his teacher Tamara, right? And they're very cool. It's very cool to hear them say, "No, I'm here with my teacher Tamara," and this is Tamara, and this is so cool because Tamara, has been with us for a long time, and she has inspired a new generation of female magicians in the neighborhood. And these are 2 of them. This is Vanessa and Luisa. So we're gonna hear Luisa first.
Súper bien. ¿Lista? 1, 2 y dale.
Hola, yo soy Luisa Fernanda León Vera, soy de Colombia, de Magos Sin Fronteras de Bogotá, y lo que más me gusta de ellos es que nos apoyan y nos reconocen, y más que todo como que nos enseñan ese talento y nos dejan una enseñanza que cada día como que nos hacen ser mejores personas, y más que todo nos dan un toque a la vida que es la magia. Gracias.
And it's pretty cool the way she starts, right? She starts saying that what I like the most is that they recognize us, right? And that's, that's, as we were talking in the beginning, a small gesture of just recognizing them, and treating them differently, right? Than their environment. And that's so eye-opening.
it's so important. Just if I could, to be seen, like Tamara sees her and sees her gifts and her talents, and then through learning, practicing, and performing, draws those out of her, and she becomes this better person, as she said, and there's something about the first guy talking about discipline, which is a little surprising, and then the next one talking about following his dreams, and that's similar to what she said. It's just fantastic.
It's fantastic, and this is because of Tamara, right? And the way that she connects with them, because it's the connection, as I've said it before, it's way better, way. I don't know if better is the adjective I'm looking for, but it's more maybe meaningful.
Yeah,
because she's one of them, meaning she lives in the neighborhood. They know where she goes to, where she went to high school. They know that she's paying her the university with match. But she shops at the same shops that they do, right? And the same corner of the street. So that that's something that we can never have with our students, right? That familiarity of
right.
how our lives might be similar somehow.
She's like a big sister or an aunt or something. She's really one of them,
Yes, exactly, and I think that's super powerful. And here, Vanessa, she's gonna tell us again what's important to her about the program, and she's been with us for a long time as well. And this is what she says.
Yo soy Juliet Vanessa Herrera Cuesta, de Magos Sin Fronteras, Bogotá, Colombia, de Paraíso. Bueno, pues personalmente lo que más me ha gustado del proyecto es que pues me ha ayudado a crecer como persona, pues porque me considero una persona que soy demasiado tímida y pues ya llevo 3 años en este proceso, entonces pues ha sido como una de las partes que me ha ayudado a soltarme como para expresarme más en público. Son experiencias nuevas que se viven, pues muy aparte de el avance personal que he tenido, pues es como el aprendizaje que se tiene de magia y las oportunidades nuevas que uno puede conseguir a través de un programa y pues personas que lo ayudan a uno a motivarse y a incentivar cosas nuevas y nuevos proyectos.
Wow.
And it's cool to see her development, right? She was indeed very shy, and also shy, and she couldn't stand up and talk loud, but also she was very unmotivated, right? And I think that's a great point, because she was like, hey, I have to do this, I have to go to school, and then try to go to higher education somewhere, and then live my life with this limited means that I have, but in a not very motivated way. And when she met Tamara, I remember Vanessa having that conversation with Tamara, saying like, do you really go to university? Like is that a possibility? So
wow.
I remember that conversation of Vanessa somewhat what's the word, that you don't believe, somewhat incredulous.
Yeah.
So, and then Tamara saying, yeah, it's hard, it's flipping hard, yeah, but hey, I could do it. If I could do it, maybe you can. Let me show you the way. And that's wonderful to see and to witness.
Yeah, it's like Raul from El Salvador last week saying how shy he was and he couldn't talk to people. And then he said, I performed for 200 people. And now talking to one person is easy. And he says, I talked to 2 or 3 people, friends and family, and it's easy now that I've stood up in front of all these people looking at me and perform magic. It's a big thing, It's a big,
Magic takes a meaning of its own. It takes a different meaning for each person, again in this reality. It takes a different meaning. And this is the video of Tamara, the kid's teacher, talking about her shortly about her experience.
Para Jiménez, hago parte de Magos Sin Fronteras hace aproximadamente 10 años. En este transcurso de tiempo he dado clases de magia y he tomado clases de magia. Lo que más me ha gustado de este proyecto es que todo el tiempo estoy aprendiendo de cada una de las personas que hacen parte de este círculo, de este gran equipo. Todo el tiempo estamos aprendiendo de las magias que hacen estas personas y sobre todo de la personalidad y la capacidad que tienen estas personas para asombrar y para enseñarnos. La magia nos permite llegar a los lugares menos esperanzados y lo que no imaginamos nunca, y eso yo siento que es lo más bonito. El poder del aplauso y el poder del asombro siento que es el agradecimiento que todos los magos queremos recibir en todo momento. La magia me permite llegar a donde quiero llegar.
Beautiful, beautiful, Tamara. She says it very beautifully. She does.
It allows her to get to places that she thought were impossible, and
I think that's wonderful. I think that is
amazing clip.
Yes.
Wow.
So, Tom, we're wrapping this episode up, but before we go, I want to, try to tell our audience what the future holds. We don't know what Magicians Without Borders conversation is going to transform, but it's going to go through a transformation. So, anything you want to talk about the future of this medium, or maybe before that, let me just take a step backwards and just say, after a year of doing this, 52 episodes with this one, what are your main takeaways of this year, Tom? Let's talk first about that. What are your main takeaways of what we've done?
Well, I think having an opportunity to revisit and to talk with so many of those people who came on the conversation, people that we've worked with, who've worked with us, who've given us their time and talent all over the world. I'm so grateful. It makes me realize that this is not something you and I have done alone, but we've had so many marvelous people all over the world who have helped us, who are Magicians Without Borders. And then the other piece is I'm still very much with what you just played, the young people, not just in Colombia and El Salvador and Costa Rica and Brazil and India and South Africa, who are becoming better people, more mature, more confident, more connected to the world by learning magic. That also has been a big part of this year. And then the third thing, of course, is to have met all those amazing people like Tim, who is there in Australia right now, and Magic Aid, and all these amazing organizations, Jungle Surgeon, who we've had the honor of spending an hour or two with during our conversations, that feed us and inspire us like we've inspired them. They inspire us. We inspire each other. We're not in this alone. And we're slowly making the world a more just and equitable and better place, through social magic. So
I agree, Tom. I can echo all your words and say that one of the highlights was meeting all those people and people that are doing great work all over the world, and that we can, inspire each other and push each other and pull each other, because sometimes it's very hard to continue. So I think I'm very grateful for those new connections, and also for all the listeners out there. I would love to hear from you. It would mean a lot to me if you can send us a message just saying what would you like us to talk about on this space on Magicians Without Borders conversation. What topics would you like us to tackle, or what were the best things that we did? What were the worst things that we did, and how can we improve? What would you want to hear on this space moving forward? I think that's something that I would love for you to express that to us. It would mean a lot to me and to us if you did that. And having said that, Tom, what do you think is the future of Magicians Without Borders conversation? Now let's talk a little bit more about that. Where do you see this going? What are some of the ideas? Because this is going to go through a transformation.
Yeah, I mean, before I say that, I want everyone to know that these 52 weeks, these 52 hours of extraordinary conversation would not have been possible without this amazing man, Carlos López. He just has such, not just creativity and imagination, but he knows how to put it into concrete practice, like finding somebody and getting them to commit to being here for an hour on a particular day, and figuring out all the time zones. And thank you, Carlos, for all that you do, not just conversations, but everything, but especially tonight. And
thank you, Tom, and I'll say that Michael just said. Way to go, Carlos. Way to go, me. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Tom. I appreciate it a lot.
So I don't know, and that can be a very powerful thing, not knowing what the future of conversations is going to be. Maybe we'll take a little break for a couple of weeks. I don't know. And just think, I'm hoping that we might, one thing I'd like to do is take advantage of the great man in the world of magic who's known around the world, that I'm having lunch with next Friday, Bob Neal. He has been writing about magic and playfulness and imagination for over 60 years. And he's just an extraordinary creative mind. And I would love to talk with him about what is magic, what is wonder, what is imagination. And that's one thing I would love to do, and maybe have 2 or 3 conversations with him. He's 92 years old. He's still in really good health, but he's 92 years old. So whether he can do 3 hours of conversation over a period of time, I hope. That's one of my dreams. And maybe that could be a theme. Like, what is, I think what's going to save us is imagination, because I think there's this terrible thing happening in Afghanistan right now. And what infuriates me is these people have been thinking that it was a failure of whatever. The failure was they think war is the way to solve problems, like killing people and breaking things. Like, they can't imagine some new way of solving our immense problems. And magic awakens the imagination that maybe the impossible is possible. So I'm really hoping that, I'm a bit worked up at the moment, and I'm excited that I don't know what we're going to do, but I think that what we do will contribute in some small way.
But I want to echo what you said, because I really believe that as well. That imagination can save us, right? But how do we action the imagination, right? How do we create?
That's your job. You're good at that. No, I'm sorry. No, you're right. You're right.
But I think that's something that we're being a magician, or being also a magician that does social magic, is very valuable. And there's lessons there that we could share, that we could spread. Because I think that when you work in a place with limited resources, right, and where you work with wonder, and you work with awe and education, it fosters something new, right, every time, right, and it's going against the grain, right, it's going, trying to do something new out of nothing, right, is something out of nothing. And I think that's something that we're lacking right now. We've been accustomed to doing things the way that they have been done for a long while, even if they work or not. But they have been that way for so long that we just take them for what it is, right? That's the way it's done, and that's it. And you can see that it's not the best way, And I could point to many examples of really life-altering stuff, or very stupid, bureaucratic, simple things in everyday relationships. And I think we all need to take a hard look at ourselves and say, hey, how can we reimagine what we do? And we are reimagining, Magicians Without Borders Conversations. We are going to take a break for at least a couple of weeks, and then we're going to communicate what this space is going to turn into, or how this is going to evolve. Like, I don't know, I love the way of the idea of talking to people like Bob Neal. I think that's something that if we have a chance, we should take it, right? And it's something that's super valuable. And maybe we can do with other magic personalities, or maybe we can go into the realm of other social leaders, like leaders that do, people that are not in the mainstream, but do great job bringing justice, or making the world more just. Maybe
you mean not necessarily magicians? Or
maybe.
Lots and lots of possibilities. I mean, I think I'm a great believer. Like, things just look so grim from when you look out there, or you listen to the news. Things just, with climate change and war and conflicts, and it's just so discouraging and so depressing. But I think things change, and they are changing, but very organically and very slowly. I just think about the program in Colombia. The program in Colombia started because some U.S. Senator, William Fulbright, 50 years ago said, I think we should send Americans to different parts of the world because we don't learn any languages. And he believed that we should learn other languages. And so he created this fellowship called the Fulbright Scholarship. And because he did that, Ryan Bart, 50 years later, comes to Colombia. He does that. He meets you. He meets Tamara. He leaves after a year. You take over. It's like this pebble that's thrown into a lake, and it just goes and goes and goes and goes. And each one of those is small, but it adds up to a change of consciousness gradually. And we have to still have hope that, as difficult and discouraging as the world can appear at times, I think it's slowly by slowly becoming a better place, and maybe we'll talk about that. But I'm grateful to you, to Ryan, to William Fulbright, to all the thousands and thousands of people who have contributed their little pebble to the great lake of developing consciousness, in the world. Okay.
I agree, Tom. I think it's a wonderful place to end this first iteration of Magicians Without Borders conversation. It's been a blast. We will be communicating how this is gonna, shift or do an evolution. Yeah,
right.
Evolve. That was the word. How is this gonna evolve? And we'll see what this brings. But it's been a blast, Tom. Thank you for being here with me every week. It's been a pleasure and an honor to have you for a year every Wednesday for at least an hour with me.
Yeah.
And I think we should leave with this. Hey, Karina.
Oh my goodness!
Your rock keeps spreading the joy and magic. And that's what we are going to be doing. We will continue.
What a great time we had with you, Karina, in South Africa. Okay.
Yes.
Keep spreading joy. Good night.
Good night, everybody. Thank you so
guys.
much for being here with us. And we will see where we take this.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.